and just get the food. Feed the bear. Get the food. Feed the bear.
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live, as always, from the Sunday Helmet Hall of Fame in my basement in Fort Collins, Colorado. Today we're going to be talking about the Fresno Grizzlies, who play in Fresno, California. Later on in this episode, we're going to be talking about the Fresno Tacos with Sam Hansen, who is the former marketing director for the team. Ranger Amy Burnett is going to be here to talk about some California Grizzly Bears. And of course, Dan Simon will be here with one of his Studio Simon Stubbers. Right now, I am so pleased to have Jonathan Bravo, who is the director of marketing for the Fresno Grizzlies, on the Baseball by Design podcast. Jonathan, how are you doing?
I'm great, Paul. Thank you so much for having me. It's a true honor to get to talk with you a little bit about the Fresno Grizzlies.
Well, it is the pleasure, the privilege is all mine. I really appreciate you hopping on. Let's jump right in. The Fresno Grizzlies. Do you see a lot of grizzly bears roaming around Fresno, California?
Not a ton of grizzly bears, it's not one of those things where I'm going to walk outside and encounter one, but I got to tell you, around Fresno, there's always people wearing our stuff, which is really cool. There's definitely a sense of pride to that, right? Where our looks, it's us and Fresno State here in the Central Valley, right? Those are the teams who, really have a stranglehold on fans and, the market share. So to be able to walk outside and almost everywhere you go, see Grizzlies gear. In a way, you do see a bunch of Grizzlies here in Central California.
The reason a team in California and in Fresno would be called the Grizzlies is a tie to, obviously, the California state flag. That is a huge deal in California. I live in Colorado right now. The Colorado state flag, we use it everywhere. That Colorado C is on everything that we do. For the uninitiated, if you haven't been to California, haven't been into any souvenir shop in California, can you explain how come the Grizzly is significant to a California-based team?
Absolutely, yeah. So to describe the flag a little bit, it's got a red stripe down the bottom, a white, probably top three quarters of it. It's got a red star in the top left-hand corner, and you got your little bit of your big California bear, grizzly bear in the middle of it. Tribute to California Grizzlies bears across the state. We take a special pride in it because we are truly smack dab in the middle of the state. If you take a look at a map, Central Valley, specifically Fresno, is right there in the middle. We're in the Central Valley, right? And that, by definition, in middle of the state. And that's something we're proud of. We are in between San Francisco and LA. It's a part of the state that a lot of people overlook, and very wrongfully so, right? You've got a huge agriculture hotbed here. Most of the United States food, specifically fruits, vegetables, nuts, are grown here in the Central Valley, here in Fresno, California. That's something we're really proud of. We're proud to be here in the heart of California, specifically in the heart of downtown Fresno. So that's why when we went through our rebrand in 2019, we wanted to make sure that, we continued to pay tribute to that California state flag and the state as a whole.
Well, so you mentioned your rebrand in 2019. That was a grandiose project. You've had a number, by my count, 5 distinct brands since
Correct.
1998. The first one is the very, very angry bear pitching. That is a bear not to be trifled with. He is the definition of ferocious. They're very much, before this sort of like fun, cartoony, stage of minor league baseball branding that we're in right now. And then a purple sort of text-based one, another sort of text-based one that I have always thought of as like the UPS era of the Fresno Grizzlies.
That is like the perfect way to put it, honestly.
It's got like it's like the UPS shield, and it's like brown and yellow. The one that that when I really got into minor league baseball, the brand that you had was the one that you had from 2008 to 2018. And it is this great big, like, mama bear looking bear sort of hugging the word Grizzlies. And it's still orange, I assume because of the association with the San Francisco Giants at the time. So I've named sort of a bunch of stages. Obviously, whose idea was it to start a podcast, an audio podcast about a visual medium? But, this is it. We're talking about logos here.
Yep.
all of those distinct stages, what role do they play in the branding of the team now? How much of, do you call back to those brands, and what is their role today?
It's huge, man. Us here at the Fresno Grizzlies, we've been a minor league baseball team since 1998 when the Phoenix Firebirds moved over to Fresno. And, we are really focused on our roots, right? So you look at those original logos, right? You look at the very angry bear with the slashes across the baseball, or you look at the original Fresno Grizzlies word mark, again, with those slashes across the words, even going back as recently as our branding before this, with a very iconic grizzly bear look on it. When we were going through our 2019 rebrand, it was very important to us that you take bits and pieces of all of that, right? We have not only our primary bear logo, which does have a grizzly bear, does incorporate those very iconic slash marks in it, but we also have a lot of alternate logos as well. We have this great F slash logo, which is this strong block F slash, which actually designed where the serifs on the font look a little bit like claws themselves, plus slashes across it to pay tribute to that original F slash logo back from the late 90s, that is. And, it's really important to us that we pay tribute to our roots, but also looking forward, right? Our current logo is very modern. It's very iconic. You'll notice that it's the first of, minus the Angry Bear logo, it's the first logo that doesn't have Fresno Grizzlies written on it, right? And that is absolutely by design, right? We want people to be able to see that Grizzly Bear logo and now, boom, that's the Fresno Grizzlies, right? You don't need to see the name. You know what team that is. There's that the logo. I'm unfortunately wasn't part of the design. It was done before I joined the team. I mean, man, to be able to be the steward for this brand and this logo is truly the honor of a lifetime because there are so many fun little pieces to it. The logo faces left as a tribute to facing west, right? Focusing on the fact that we are truly on the West Coast. We are in the heart of California. We're proud to be part of, and not only California, but Growlifornia, as we like to say, and as we like to call our fan bases. Yeah, definitely a lot of stages to get to where we are today, but, couldn't be more proud of the logo we play under every single game.
Well, that's a really interesting detail. I like that because, I'm a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, the other side of the country. They very famously have a logo that faces the other direction from, what you see in most of brands. And so that question comes up a lot, like, well, why is it facing left? So to have a specific answer to that question, in this logo set that, that Brandios created is really interesting. The current logo set is more red rather than orange. The affiliations change over the course of time and whatnot. What's the significance of that very red brand that you have now in terms of the coloring?
Sure, absolutely. So, in a sense, it was important to us to establish it as this is the Fresno Grizzlies brand, right? Where, yeah, it was conveniently timed where the new logo came out at the same time we were going through an affiliation change to the Washington Nationals. We got a lot of questions of, did that come together at the same time, right? Did you guys change your colors to red because you were being a Nationals affiliate? No, we were changing to red because we wanted to be the Fresno Grizzlies, right? And you bring it back to the California flag, which you mentioned. Red is such a predominant part of that flag. We actually have a secondary or tertiary logo that we call the bear flag logo, which is a flip off of that California logo, which is very red centric. You got your primary bear in the middle there, you got your star in the top left hand corner. So it was really important to us to be able to tie it back to the state and also differentiate ourselves, make it clear that, the Fresno Grizzlies are the Fresno Grizzlies and the Grizzlies alone.
All right, Jonathan, you knew this was coming. I think it's fair to say that the Fresno Tacos kicked off in a very real way the certainly the food frenzy that we're seeing now in all of minor league baseball, but the trend of minor league teams having multiple brands over the course of the year. Is it fair to say it started with the tacos 10 years ago?
I would say it's more than fair. This is the 10th year of us playing as the Fresno Tacos, and we do stake the claim as being the ones that started the alter ego craze. The taco is so important to Central California. And, everything that we've talked about before has had a tie to California, right? Whether it's our logo, it's the bear flag, it's our name as a whole. But moreover, the Fresno tacos are quintessentially Central California. Central California is the birthplace of the taco truck back during World War II. That is a claim to fame that we are very proud of. And moreover, yeah, the Fresno tacos are fun to play as, right? It's a fun, only in minor league baseball thing you can do. But to us, it is a way to honor our community and honor the hardworking small businessmen and women who go out there and run taco trucks and are feeding people out in our community. And to have the opportunity to be able to honor them not only once a year when we play as the Fresno Tacos, but also during our annual taco truck throwdown is something we don't take lightly as an organization. So yeah, we've been playing at the tacos for 10 years. We are absolutely the birthplace of the taco truck. We're proud to be the original alter ego and really looking forward to being able to take the field this year in that Fresno taco truck inspired uniform.
Well, I started writing for sportslogos.net in 2014,
Sure.
and one of the very early alternate brands that I wrote about was the Fresno Tacos. I remember that was 2015, July of 2015. I very distinctly remember like this team is playing as the Tacos. Like they're going to be called the Tacos. And I'll tell you this, Jonathan, I have been trying to find that hat, that original hat, as a dad hat, though. You see all the hats behind me on the wall
Sure.
here.
Hmm.
I cannot find that tacos hat as a dad hat. And it was, I've checked eBay. I've been on your store a number of times. So one of these days, I'm going to find that original yellow and green, or I guess maybe orange and green and white tacos hat as a dad hat.
I love it. That's awesome. No, I'll keep an eye out for you as well, man. It really is so incredible to be able to have claim to being, again, it's cool to say we're the original alter ego, and the first ones really to kick off the food craze. But I bring it back to the community, right? The fact that we have this unique ability as the Fresno Grizzlies to impact our community and put our community on the map, right? You're talking about the Fresno Tacos, which got truly national, if not worldwide attention. And that was here in the Central Valley. And that's really what our organization is about, right? And helping uplift downtown Fresno, making sure that people around the world know that, Fresno's a really freaking cool place. And we have all these amazing things, and you should come check it out.
You told me the name before we started recording here. Did you say Dorian Castro is the designer who created that brand?
Yeah, so Dorian Castro and Sam Hansen, as well as Mike Costageda and Ray Ortiz, all had very heavy hands in creating the Fresno Tacos look and Taco Truck Throwdown going into that 2015 season. They are all individuals who are still extremely involved with the organization. I was just talking with Sam earlier this afternoon. He was sitting in my office. Dorian Castro is an incredible, incredible artist. Ray Ortiz is still our entertainment manager and host. Like the Fresno Grizzlies really are a tight knit family. And it's because so many people believe in the community aspect and believe in the power of the Fresno Grizzlies and uplifting the community. So, yeah, I truly owe it all to them. Plus, of course, Derek Franks, our president, for greenlighting the whole idea and being like, you know what? Yeah, this is crazy, but it's crazy cool. Someone has to do this. So why not us? And to have won golden bobbleheads for it and to get the ESPN national attention and sports logo national attention and things of that nature. It's a really special place to be for sure.
The other really notable alternate identity that you all have done in the past and continue to do right now, I really enjoy the Copa de la Diversión program. And you all, is there another entry in the Copa program, which for the uninitiated is typically Spanish language brands that teams adopt to expand the fan base and to invite members of the community in that way through Spanish language brands. But the lowriders are the Copa brand for the Fresno Grizzlies. Are there other Copa brands that use an English word?
Not to the best of my knowledge. And again, that was very intentional. The
Yeah.
Central Valley does have a lot of either dual language speaking individuals or English language speaking individuals of Hispanic and Spanish descent. So again, it's a tribute to our community and to the Central Valley that, yes, we're playing as the lowriders, but it's the Fresno lowriders, right? Which is, as you mentioned, English word. And that's very intentional to have just another little Easter egg to celebrate our community.
For the uninitiated, what is a lowrider?
Sure, a lowrider is more or less a modified car that it rides just a little bit off the ground. It has usually hydraulics, so it can jump up in the air or raise and lower. It is truly above being cool cars. They're just spectacles to be seen. Like, oh my gosh, some of the most beautiful pieces of artwork ever. Cars absolutely can be art, and lowriders are that. The attention to detail and the care that these car owners give is unreal. We have tons of them out at the ballpark during our lowriders weekend every single year, and it's one of my favorite promotions every single year. It brings out the kid in you, right? You get to see all these incredible machines just roll up, parked right in front of the ballpark. It's just a spectacle for sure.
To bring it back to circle all the way back now
Yep,
to Bears. Your mascot is Parker T. Bear. Very,
absolutely.
very different. Parker T. Bear is adorable and as you would expect from a mascot is very approachable and friendly looking, very fuzzy, kid friendly. Different from the mascot, which has been either sort of scary, ferocious, or very serious.
Right.
And but this mascot obviously is very friendly. Different version of the bear. Is it the same bear in the mascot and the logo, or are Parker and the mascot bear separate entities?
Sure, that's a great question. They're definitely separate entities. It's so interesting that you bring up the point about mascots traditionally being scary versus Parker, who's so approachable. Our original mascot, Wild Thing. If you look him up, we'll go and peel the curtain way back for a minute. If you look him up, he's kind of spooky, right? And with the early ownership and early marketing, people with the team realized that he was going around scaring kids and he wasn't very approachable. And when it came time to revisit the mascotting program, it became really clear that we needed a face of the organization that little kids want to go run up and give him a hug, or, season ticket holders who have seen him for 15 years at this point want to go up and greet him. And it comes back to the Grizzlies brand as a whole, which is family friendly and family fun focused, right? We want our fans to be able to go run up to Parker or, go home at the end of the night just beaming because they got Parker to sign a baseball. It's extremely important to us, right? And the impact that Parker has in our community is unrivaled. I'm constantly reminded of it, which is one of the greatest joys of my job. That whenever I go out with him on a community trip, the amount of heads that turn or the amount of people who stop and just have to see Parker, it's truly unlike any other mascot in the Central Valley. And everyone loves Parker T. Bear.
I'm going to get you out of here on this, Jonathan. What's next? Do you guys anything you can say that is coming down the pike that we're going to be surprised? You're grimacing right now for the listener at home. Jonathan is
No, no, no,
grimacing.
no. Not in the slightest. I will say one of the alter egos that we play as that I am just so proud of what we've been able to do with, and I see so much potential for is actually the Fresno Tigers logo. So that pays tribute to the 1946 West Coast Negro League baseball team, Fresno Tigers, who, for all intents and purposes, only played 3 games here in the Central
Wow.
Valley before being, in a different time, ran out of town. And we have the opportunity as the Fresno Grizzlies to take the field every year as the Fresno Tigers and pay tribute to that team who didn't get the respect that they deserved here in the Central Valley and educate our community on, what an important piece of baseball history and world history existed through those 1946 Fresno Tigers. So that's a story that I love telling. That's a story that I've loved to see grow year after year as we continue to educate our community about. And that's the one that I absolutely see so much potential in continuing to grow into the far distant future.
Well, I really appreciate that you brought that up, and it is a really important story to be told. Jonathan, I did it again. I kept you way longer than I meant to. I really appreciate you taking so much time at the end of your day. Normally, I do these interviews in the morning time, and so it's the end of the day. So I appreciate the energy you brought to the conversation and all of this great information. And what a fun brand! What a fun story to be able to tell. So thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you, Paul. I truly feel like I'm the luckiest man in the world to be able to do this job, right? And to be able to be the steward for our brand. So I just appreciate you letting us tell our story a little bit and look forward to many more conversations.
Jonathan, where can folks find you on social media, online, and where can people find the team?
Absolutely. So the team, FresnoGrizzlies.com or at Fresno Grizzlies is always the way to go. For myself personally, I am the real JM Bravo. Please reach out, connect to me on social media, find me on LinkedIn under Jonathan Bravo. I always love having conversations with people about our marketing or sports in general or where the industry is going. So would love to hear from people.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I am so pleased right now to have on Baseball by Design Sam Hansen, who is a marketing consultant who has worked with the Fresno Grizzlies, former director of marketing for the Grizzlies, is intimately involved with the creation of this Fresno Tacos brand, wearing an American flag tacos cap right now and a taco truck throwdown t-shirt. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Can't help but notice that you were wearing the taco truck throwdown t-shirt. I think the transition of this special event that you all did with the team, the taco truck throwdown, turning into this the initial the trendsetter food-based alternate identity for a minor league baseball team is really the story here. The Fresno Tacos changed the face of minor league baseball. How did the taco truck throwdown turn into the Fresno Tacos on-field uniform?
So before it got to Taco Truck Throwdown, really, like us saying we should just change our name to the Fresno Tacos, which actually happened at one point. I do have to give credit to my friend Mike Ozagata. Mike Oz, he used to write for Big League Stew for Yahoo Sports. And I also do have to, unfortunately, give credit to the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs.
Mm.
The Iron Pigs had put out a hat with a slice of bacon on it. And I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
I give credit where credit's due. And I was like, look, that is great. And Mike Ozagata called me and he said, we have to do a hat with a taco on it now. And I said, well, it makes sense for the Iron Pigs because they're the Iron Pigs and a slice of bacon, works within their brand umbrella. And I couldn't figure out how to connect Grizzlies to a taco. And I thought maybe I do a hat with a bear holding a taco, something like that. I hadn't figured it out yet. And there was a guy who used to work in our media relations department named Noah Frank. And he was constantly trying to get us to do fake press conferences for anything. He would say, hey, we're trading Parker, our mascot, and hold a press conference. He wanted to do just anything. He loved press conferences.
I should point out that we are recording this on April 1st. It obviously will drop after April 1st,
Yeah.
but what a great story to include for an April 1st recording of this podcast.
Yeah, and he loved that. Now, I was a little concerned with the boy who cried wolf scenario. I didn't want to go to the well too many times with the April Fools stuff. So, but I had all of this stuff in my head, and Taco Truck Throwdown just kept growing in attendance and popularity. It really became something that connected with Fresno culturally, and just not just Fresno, but the outlying cities. We're a big ag community, and I'm sure Jonathan probably mentioned the taco trucks or lonchero trucks were invented as a means to get food out to it started in the 40s here with the braceros, and they were a big part of our culture is taco trucks. I say that people in other cities go to taco trucks after the club. We go to taco trucks like they are the club. That event was meant to honor sort of just the cultural importance of taco trucks in Fresno. And Taco Truck Throwdown 5, the attendance was packed. Everyone was having a great time, but some of our older season ticket holders, I'm sure most baseball fan bases, some of the season ticket holders are a little older, a little more serious about the game. And so some of them were complaining about the Taco Truck Throwdown. And we were discussing it in our GM, Derek Franks' office. And I believe it was Derek said, we might as well just change our name to the damn Fresno Tacos. Sarcastically. And then all of those things that I had mentioned, the hat, the fake press conferences, it all just sort of clicked right when he said that. And I said, no, we should change our name to the Fresno Tacos. And everyone just sort of laughed it off. And I said, no, I think we can do this. And I called Andy Schultz at the league. And I was like, hey, Andy, I know you're going to hate me for this, but how can we create an alter ego and just play on Tuesdays as the Fresno Tacos. And I said, we're going to do a press conference and we're going to announce that we're changing our name to the Fresno Tacos just to get everybody, in a frenzy. And some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. Andy was like, I don't know. And I think Pat O'Connor was head of the league back then, and they all discussed it. That was back when the offices were in St. Petersburg. And then he called me back and he gave me the green light to proceed with it.
So prior to this, there had been teams that had done what might have been nights, or, the alternate identity was not, it wasn't necessarily unheard of, but definitely not typical. I mean, in the last few weeks, I have been writing 2 or 3 articles a day trying to keep up with all of the alternate identities that teams are dropping. The Fresno Tacos really sort of set this precedent, right? And even you gave credit to the Iron Pigs because they had the bacon strip logo. But as you said, that wasn't their name. They weren't the Lehigh Valley Bacon Strips. They were still the Iron Pigs, and that was just an alternate logo. So, what you guys were really onto something there with that. How do you explain this, the way that this whole notion has sort of taken off?
I think that the component of having an altered, ego, and then also making that connect with a food. I mean, obviously there's other teams. I think El Paso is doing like the Bootmakers. I think they're, and we've done other alter egos also, not just food related, but the food connection gives you the opportunity to really create a festival atmosphere around this, and you make it more than a ball game. And that was really what I think when we won the promo of the year and I did the presentation on it, I definitely suggested, I said, Brooklyn should be doing the pizza slices. Memphis should be doing the ribs. And their Maine should be doing the lobster rolls. I had kind of predicted that. I didn't know that teams were going to actually do it. And I think it's great. The following year, Lehigh Valley did the cheesesteaks. And we sort of razzed them because we were sort of debating who had came up with the idea of the alter ego. That created sort of the bacon versus tacos deal. But also, I feel like at least our approach to it has been very authentic. I was the graphic designer. I've done a lot of logos for the Grizzlies, but for creating this logo in particular, I reached out to Dorian Castro, who was a local graphic designer doing more sort of like streetwear type stuff. And I brought him in to create this, and we did some tweaks, made it more sports like. Initially looked way more NFL, almost XFL-ish with its art. Almost looked like it would belong on a helmet. And I had to sort of help bring it back down to make it more baseball-y. But Dorian did a great job, and he eventually came on and was our full-time graphic designer afterwards. This got him the job.
So that initial logo, and you were just holding it up now, the original hat that you all wore, the tritone with like the yellowy orange back, the white front panel, the green brim, and then that logo that you were just holding up there, the sort of stylized taco. And then on the jersey, you've got all those same colors. And then the word tacos has a real sort of like street art graffiti feeling about it. Very, very cool. You can see why this took off. It's interesting to me, with an alternate identity, you don't necessarily see this. You all built on that, right? Like you added lime to it the next year. You changed the design of the cap over the years. That design changed over the course of the last decade, right up until this year. And we'll talk about this in a minute. I want to ask you about the taco designs first. But this year you're featuring a truck rather than the taco itself. Before we talk about that truck, I want to ask you about all these different versions of the taco. You did a purple version of it one year. What was the thinking behind, we're not only going to have this alternate identity, but we're going to change it up every single year?
So with Dorian coming from a streetwear background, I also come from a streetwear background. Dorian, the taco word mark, he modeled that off of the trucks. Typically have, at least they used to before the big wide format printing and getting them shrink wrapped. They used to all be hand painted. And they would have these. So it's kind of a cross between sort of the old Lanchero trucks, how they were painted. And then also, it does have a little bit of a graffiti streetwear theme. And in that spirit of streetwear, there's always these different collaborations. There's always these different themed Nikes, the Nike SB accounts with all the different dunks. I mean, they had the Heineken dunks and the Sea Crystal dunks and all these different dunks. We sort of used this hat sort of as a canvas to do that. And we did an Oreo taco, and we had these a local ice cream place called Cream created these Oreo tacos, and then we sold them, and then we did a hat to match it, and we just basically used sort of that streetwear Nike format of using a hat or a logo as a canvas to just create new themes and create energy around it.
So now, after 10 years, we're celebrating the trucks themselves. The new set of logos has the trucks on them. After 10 years of Fresno tacos, what was the thinking in switching to highlighting the trucks themselves rather than, further iterations of the taco?
So one of the taglines that we've used for Taco Truck Throwdown has been Central California. We didn't invent the taco, but we did invent the taco truck. And that is one thing that the Central Californians are very proud of now. I don't think that they realized that it did come from here. Unfortunately, was being so close to Los Angeles and the Bay Area, we look to them sort of for what is cool. And when taco trucks became cool in the Bay Area, we were sort of thinking like, hey, we've been doing this forever. And so celebrating the trucks was something that I think was just something we had designed. We had that design with the truck logo for a while, but we never really put it front and center to make it say that, look, this is a Central California tradition, eating tacos from trucks.
What's the perception in Fresno of, I feel like, food trucks have kind of taken on a little bit of like an avocado toast air about them, right? Like it's a little bit like, they're certainly serving a different purpose than that original purpose, right? Like it's become almost a little hipsterish now to go get your lunch from a food truck instead of this very sort of like workman like origin that they had.
Yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, and again, I'm 46, so I grew up in the Bay Area, but my family is from here. My family is from the Central Valley, and I would come down here and I would stay during the summers, and my aunt would take me to taco trucks. It's just a normal thing. I mean, all walks of life went to taco trucks here in Fresno because it was a very Fresno thing. And I went home to Vallejo, the city I lived in, and I recall asking my stepmom, "Hey, can we go to the taco truck?" And my stepmom said, "Ooh, those are dirty. That's a roach coach. You don't want to eat at that." Now, again, this was 1989 when she
Uh-huh.
said that. And so then the big off the grid and all these San Francisco hipster food trucks making, roasted duck tacos and things like that, like started happening. And I will give credit to that for probably helping the popularity of Taco Truck Throwdown grow. But the reason why I think that it also just did so well in Fresno was that connection to it being something that's culturally connected. And so about 2012, 2013, second or third Taco Truck Throwdown, we did ask ourselves, should we make this a food truck throwdown? And we said to ourselves, no, puro tacos. Puro tacos, that's what they were serving here in 1942 or 1945. And that's what we're going to keep our taco truck. It's Taco Truck Throwdown, not food truck throwdown.
So I have never had the good fortune to visit Fresno and experience one of these taco trucks. What am I going to experience that's different about a taco from a taco truck rather than, going to my local favorite here in Fort Collins, Colorado, Pueblo Viejo. They do a good taco there, but I don't know. I'm a middle-aged white dude in Fort Collins, Colorado. So what am I going to experience at a taco truck in Fresno?
So the thing that I love about Fresno as opposed to uh, other even parts of California is that because of the ag here and because of generations and generations of migrant laborers that have came, we have, I believe, I believe that we have the best mix of Mexican food and tacos in the United States. If you go to, and I've been to Texas, I've been to Colorado, and typically you'll have a certain style of Mexican food there because you have people from one particular region of Mexico moving there. Where Fresno and the Central California, we have all regions. We've got Mexico City, Oaxaca, Michoacan. I mean, they're all here and they've been here forever. And they've all sort of, and then we have the best produce in the world. We're the world's salad bowl. So they're using this top quality food to use these age-old recipes that they brought from their homeland. And then they've all sort of had they're all interacting with each other and playing off of each other. So if you want amazing carnitas, you go to a truck that's from Michoacan because they've got the best carnitas. If you want really good asada, I'd go to a truck that has origins from Sonora. And so we have a wide range, and then we have the freshest food because we're in Central California. That's something that I think is going to be much different than at our taco trucks than anywhere else.
All right, the taco truck throwdown itself, what is that experience at the ballpark? How many taco trucks are there? You know, how has it grown over the years? What's the taco truck throwdown?
So when we started, we had 8 trucks, and the idea was to bring a truck from each one of the cities around here. A lot of these towns, they're very proud of their local. They're very proud of their best taco truck. And so we brought the best taco trucks from all of the little cities. The next year it grew, and we ended up having 15, and it got up to the point where we had 36 taco trucks at one point, but we found out that the sweet spot is actually about 25 to 28 trucks. So the crowd, because these events draw 9,000-10,000 people, and sometimes the lines are just ridiculous. But the trucks want long lines, but your customers obviously don't. Right. So it works out with if the lines are short enough to where people can just hang out, listen to music, drink beer. We found out that our sweet spot is about 28 trucks.
It's a lot of taco trucks. I think I would have trouble having one taco from each place, but I would try because it sounds pretty amazing. So,
one bite each, and
that's what I could do. Yeah, just just take like one bite. I could do, maybe a third of a taco from each of those places. Could I eat 10 tacos? I don't know. Now I've got a new challenge as I go into dinner time here. Sam, this has been a ton of fun. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this great logo. Like you said, I know you have done some design work, and we were chatting before you hopped on that you had like the original sketch of this logo that Dorian Castro then took and formalized and made into this enduring piece of minor league baseball culture now. It's absolutely a game changer in minor league baseball. So I absolutely love this brand. Love what it's done for minor league baseball. Would love to find it on a dad hat someday. That is my quest, is to find that original 2015 tritone taco on a dad hat.
It exists. I know we made one. The first year, but I'll do some research, and I might have to dig around the remates and see if one pops up.
It is my white whale. If that pops up, I would be very much in your debt. In the meantime, Sam, where can people find you online and the work that you're doing?
I'm at FTK, like Frank, Tom, Kevin for the kids, FTK Construction on Instagram. And my personal account is Sam from FTK on Instagram.
There you go. Sam, thank you so much. This has been great. I am going to look you up when I get to Fresno so that we can go to the taco truck throwdown together. That's also on my bucket list now.
Yeah, definitely got to make it out here. Look forward to seeing you.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
Sweet. Take care.
Baseball by Design listeners worldwide, it is my honor to introduce to you the official Baseball by Design wildlife correspondent, musical enthusiast, and national anthem extraordinaire, Ranger Amy Burnett.
That intro, once again, from our good friend Pat Larson. Ranger Amy Burnett, welcome.
Thanks for having me again.
We are talking about an animal that has long since been extinct in your former home state of California.
It's true.
Why is the grizzly bear, the California Grizzly, on the state flag of California?
Well, I think first you should ask me how I am, because you ask every other guest.
You're just going to say fantastic.
No, I'm not.
Let me ask you specifically, Ranger Amy.
Dan.
How are your legs?
That is a good question, because they are stiff.
Your legs just carried you 13.1 miles up and down hundreds of feet of elevation gain and loss. at the Horsetooth Half Marathon, one of the hardest half marathons there is in the country.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
I'm
one of
really
the
glad you
hardest.
didn't tell me that before I started
I
yesterday. I would
know.
have been a lot more nervous.
You did a bang up job. You knocked it out.
Thank you. I got my
Congrats.
third. I'm going to brag a little bit here if
All
I
right.
can. I got my third fastest half marathon time.
Out of how many half marathons? 3?
7.
7. All right, Ranger Amy, let's get serious.
All right.
Let's talk about California Grizzlies,
Yeah.
the grizzly bear that is on the California state flag, which Californians love. You see it everywhere in their souvenir shops and everything. Why is the California Grizzly so important to California?
It's a pretty cool animal. It's a top predator. It has no natural predators. The brown bear is the largest land mammal in California.
Well, the California
Was.
Grizzly,
Excuse me.
I was going to say,
Was.
the California Grizzly does not have any natural predators because it has been extinct for more than 100 years.
That's right. But it was the largest land mammal in California
Okay.
and had no natural predators. And then people came along and killed it. The last one was killed in 1922. The last one that was seen in 1924. There used to be 10,000 of them in California at one point.
So tell me about the California Grizzly. It's like, I mean, here we've got the Fresno Grizzlies are named for this animal. It's still on the state flag 100 years after its extinction. What's so cool about it?
They're massive. They're spectacular, inimitable predators. I mean, they're just amazing and they're huge. I mean, everyone likes the extremes, right? When
Yeah.
I worked for Game and Fish, reporters used to say, well, is this the longest stretch of hot weather in Arizona? Is this the biggest animal? Is this the most dangerous rattlesnake? They always love the extremes. So grizzly bears are the extreme of the extreme when it comes to bears in North America.
They are the most hyperbolic of all
Most
of the
hyperbolic
bears.
Of all the bears. But actually, grizzly bears are actually a subspecies of brown bear. So technically, we should be saying brown bears instead of grizzly bears. But California grizzlies were really, really huge. In fact, the explorers estimated that they were, some specimens, they put them at 2,200 pounds.
Wow.
And the research really hasn't held up on a bear quite that big. Usually we think of them as average around 800 pounds for a male grizzly bear, and then with some getting up to 1,200. But do you know why they estimated that that before they went extinct, that some of them were around 2,200 pounds?
Because they were out in California eating Jack in the Box and In-N-Out Burger and El Pollo Loco.
The question was, why did they put them at 2,200 pounds?
Oh,
Because who wrote history back in the day?
white people,
And specifically?
colonizers, men.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You're making a joke.
Moving on. So grizzly bears on the coast and in Alaska were generally bigger than the ones in the interior. So grizzly bears, when they existed in California, were much bigger than the ones, say, in the Rocky Mountains, which still exist in some parts of that mountain range, even though they don't exist right now in Colorado, but some people are trying to bring them back, which would be awesome. But what states do you think that you can find grizzly bears in today?
I'm gonna say north and west. I'm gonna say Alaska.
You got that one. Yep.
All right, Washington, Oregon.
Not Oregon.
Not Oregon.
No,
Montana.
Washington. Yep. Montana.
Idaho.
Yeah, Idaho. And you missed one.
I'm gonna say Louisiana.
Louisiana, really? North and west, you go with Louisiana.
Trying to mix it up a little bit. Trying not to be predictable.
What's a northern state that we haven't talked about that is north of Colorado?
Wyoming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very small parts of each of these states, though. So I was actually almost attacked by a black bear once.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
Well,
Told you the story.
I was pretending like I didn't know the story.
But you know most of my stories.
It's true. So you were almost attacked by a black bear. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I was when I worked for the government agency. We were doing a black bear release, and it was very controlled, and you just never know how it's going to go with the black bear. And the black bear actually ran at me as it came out of the cage. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. So as that bear is charging at you,
Yeah.
and luckily you survived because otherwise,
I did, thank goodness. That was really scary.
as it's charging at you,
Yeah.
are you thinking, if I were a catcher in a baseball game and this bear were charging down the third baseline, thank goodness he's not allowed to bowl me over anymore because I'd be done for.
Surprisingly, I didn't think about that.
You didn't think about those things.
It's amazing.
You have Buster Posey to thank for still having your life today.
One thing that was interesting about grizzly bears is that people didn't really know why they were called grizzlies. The first person who talked about them was Clark from Lewis and Clark Expedition.
Okay.
Called it a grizzly bear and spelled it wrong.
Oh no.
And so people were like, well, does he mean like grizzly as in like horrific, or
Yeah.
grizzly as in like grizzled like gray? Which one do you think it is?
Grizzled like gray.
Yeah. So that's basically what people came up with is they're more likely to be gray or brown, whereas black bears can be black, brown, cinnamon, white, tan.
Well, I'm going to ask you this before we get out of here.
Yeah.
What position are you going to put a grizzly bear at on a baseball field?
Anyone he wants to be.
That's very good. So grizzly bears, obviously, they're extinct in California.
Yep.
And they live just a few places now in the United States that we talked about.
Right.
Where else in the world do they live?
Well, they are found all over Asia and parts of Europe.
Okay.
So hashtag humble brag, I am actually going to be running in the Alps next year.
Good Lord.
And I could encounter a brown bear, which is the largest species of bear.
You said that not all brown bears are grizzly bears.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish they all could be California Grizzlies.
Oh, that's so bad.
I think that's pretty good. How many tacos do you think a California Grizzly could eat?
What? As many as he wanted to.
All right. That's
like
fine.
when you weigh that much, you have to eat a lot.
Yeah.
But you'd think that they would eat all meat, right?
Yeah.
There was a famous bear in captivity. They fed pretty much all meat, and he died, basically malnutrition because they kept feeding him meat. And grizzly bears in the wild are omnivores. They eat a lot of pretty much everything.
I have it on good authority that they really enjoy honey.
Yeah, but they will take pretty much whatever they can get. You know that as far as deaths go, between the year 2000 and 2015, there were 113 deaths by bears.
How many of those deaths do you think were caused by the reversible camera on the iPhone?
Probably 50%. Oh my gosh.
All right, Ranger Amy, thank you for coming and talking about grizzly bears. How do you feel here at the end of the interview?
Well, Paul, I feel great.
Thank you, Tony the Tiger.
That was a bear. Bears growl too. You're not the only one who gets to be funny on this show. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Ranger.
You don't get to sign off.
To my segment, I do.
All right, bye. All right, everyone, welcome back. It is time once again for Studio Simon Stumpers, in which my very good friend Dan Simon of Studio Simon brings us a trivia question related to this week's or each week's subject matter at hand. Dan, good morning. Hello, how are you?
I am fantastic, Paul. How are you, and how are things in Fort Collins, Colorado?
It is. It's a little gray and a little cool still here. April is just such a coin flip. You don't buy Rockies tickets in advance the first month or two of the season because you just never know what the weather's going to be. I have sat through snowstorms at Coors Field early in the season, so you just never know in April.
Yeah, we hit 80 degrees last week, and then this morning on my walk to work, I was wearing my heaviest winter jacket.
I did actually go to 2 games in March, the home opener for the Norfolk Tides, where we had very nice weather. We got very lucky with the weather in Norfolk because Virginia, you just never know. And then also a roof open Arizona Diamondbacks game. That was a beautiful, warm, sunny afternoon. But Phoenix, that's a different animal. They're not going to have the roof open, after the next couple of weeks, I don't think.
I went to a game once in a Tampa Bay Rays game at the Dome there.
Yeah.
We were there in the summer. It was Florida hot.
Yeah.
Hot and humid, and it was really nice being there. I remember walking from the parking lot into the stadium. It's like it was miserable just walking from our car to the stadium. And then you get in the stadium, it's wonderful. I really appreciated a Dome stadium that day.
I saw a game in Milwaukee with my friend Howard, and I was complaining bitterly that the roof was closed because as we had walked into the game, it was this beautiful evening in Wisconsin, and I complained bitterly the whole game that the roof was closed. And then when we left the game, turned out it had been pouring rain for like at least an hour, and the parking lot was completely flooded, and like running to the car we got drenched. And so in retrospect, hindsight, I appreciated the roof because that game definitely would have been rained out without the retractable roof.
But
Truly.
see, we do what we do because we enjoy talking baseball. We enjoy talking with each other, and we go off on these tangents and stuff. So
It's true.
this has nothing to do with the Fresno Grizzlies, but what does have to do with the Fresno Grizzlies is that they are one of 3 teams in affiliated minor league baseball that play in a city whose name ends in NO. So our studio Simon Stumper today asks, which of these 3 teams is not one that plays in such a city? Is it A, the Reno Aces, B, the Inland Empire 66ers of San Bernardino, or C, the Norfolk Tides?
That's the trivia question, is which one of those doesn't end in NO?
Yes.
Are you, do you feel bad for me, Dan, that I missed it last week? And so if I were to tell you that the Reno ends with an NO, and San Bernardino ends in an NO, and Norfolk ends with an LK, so I am going to go with the Norfolk Tides.
You are correct.
Wait,
Okay. Okay. Would you like a question that might make you have to use a little more brain power?
let's do it. Let's do it. I'm thinking maybe you came up with Norfolk Tides because I brought up Norfolk Tides. I should point out that we are recording this on April 1st, so that was maybe a little bit of an April Fool's moment right there.
Yes, that was the intent. So okay, so here's the real one.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so when Major League Baseball granted an expansion team to the city of Phoenix, Arizona, for the 1998 season, the minor league team there in Phoenix, the Phoenix Firebirds, AAA Phoenix Firebirds, they had to move because your Major League Baseball does not allow affiliated minor league teams or other major league teams for that matter, except for the ones that already have this within, I believe it's a 35-mile radius, without permission, because there are exceptions. The
St. Paul Saints.
St. Paul Saints, Brooklyn Cyclones, there probably are another 1 or 2. But anyway, the Phoenix Firebirds had to move, and they moved to Tucson, Arizona, changed their name to the what?
Toros?
Tucson Sidewinders.
Oh, the Sidewinders.
Which prompted the team that had been in Tucson, the Tucson Toros, to move to Fresno, California, and they changed their name to the Fresno Grizzlies. So that's how the Fresno Grizzlies, that's their birth story.
Okay.
Origin story.
It's the origin story.
As they say. So they were a AAA team. But when Major League Baseball took over and restructured minor league baseball, the Fresno Grizzlies, who were playing in the AAA Pacific Coast League, they were dropped 3 classifications to low A. Now, baseball fans who know something about minor league baseball will refer to the 2 levels of single A baseball as low A and high A. But Major League Baseball, and prior to that, minor league baseball, when it was its own entity, they didn't refer to it as high A and low A. So the official name for low A is single A. The official name for high A is advanced A. So, but we call them low A. So they were dropped from, the Fresno Grizzlies were dropped from AAA way down to low A, three levels. So for today's studio Simon Stumper, we're going to talk about minor league teams moving in the opposite direction, moving up. And our studio Simon Stumper today asks, which of these minor league baseball clubs made the biggest jump up in levels? Was it A, the Durham Bulls, B, the Erie Seawolves, or C, the Round Rock Express? You're going to have to think about this one a little bit.
I am going to have to think about this. And we've talked about the fact that Nuke LaLoosh was playing single A ball for the Durham Bulls when he got promoted directly to the Atlanta Braves. And I find that to be, if not completely impossible, at least a little unusual in the world of baseball. And now Durham is AAA.
It's beyond a little bit possible. It is players don't go from single A to the majors. So
Not
yeah,
anymore, for sure. Not anymore. But I do know that Durham made that very big jump right there. I don't know what Round Rock's classification was prior to their current classification at AAA. And Erie could only have jumped so high because they're at AA now. The question could be like if we where I'm second guessing myself is prior to the reorganization of minor league baseball back pre 2020, there were more levels to jump. So you had below even low A, you had the rookie level, and you had short season single A. And I never quite fully understood the difference between rookie level and short season because those seemed similar to me.
short season was rookie ball, the same thing. For those who don't know, the reason for those short season leagues is because the major league draft happened in June, I believe, might have been late May. Right now, there's only 20 rounds, but there used to be over 60 rounds. And you have all these players who were drafted, and they would have had nowhere to play, or they would have disrupted all these teams that already had full rosters. So you had these leagues that didn't start until mid to late June, the short season leagues. So anyway, back to our question.
Just because I know that Durham made that the reverse of the jump that you're describing from single A or low A all the way up to triple A when they became the affiliate of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, when that team was conjured into existence in the 1998 season, I am going to go with the Durham Bulls.
Okay. The littlest jump of these three were the Round Rock Express. They were a AA team in the Texas League, and they jumped to the AAA Pacific Coast League. So that was one level.
Okay.
Durham,
Oh boy.
2 levels from the High A Carolina League.
They were high A. Okay.
So they jumped the double A to AAA International League. In 1999, the short season, we were just talking about this, New York Penn League Erie Seawolves jumped 3 classifications because they leapfrogged low A and high A to get to double A. That's the biggest jump.
Well, my only consolation, Dan, is that I got the real question about the cities that end in NO. I got that one correct, so I'll take today as a win. I tried to factor in those pre-2020 classifications. I thought those might come into play, so I took a guess. I think if I had realized that Durham was high A rather than low A, if I had remembered that, I may have made a different guess. But Dan, shoulda, woulda, coulda, as they say. I appreciate your studio assignment, Stumpers. Whether I get them right or wrong, it's always fun. In the meantime, thanks for all that you do, Dan, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you for having me on. I have, even though you're the one that gets to answer these things, these are just always fun for me to come up with, and then to see you sussing them out, and sometimes with pained expressions, sometimes with a smile on your face, but it's always fun. So
It is.
I look forward to these as well, and look forward to next week. I'll see you then.
We'll see you next week, Dan.